You ever hear of a man so rich, so powerful, he thought he could rewrite history itself? A man who chased a myth only to become one? Nathaniel Graves had it all. Wealth, vision, an ego so big he thought he could outsmart time. But his greatest discovery wasn't Atlantis. It was the prison his own son built for him. A legend shaped by obsession, sealed by blood, and swallowed by the tide of history. The Serpent of Atlantis is a cycle, a curse, a lesson. But the real question, will you listen before it's too late? Join the movement, share your story, help shape the future. And if you want more content like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The best stories aren't just told, they're remembered.
There's a certain madness in chasing a myth, a certain arrogance in believing that, with enough money, enough power, you can uncover what time itself has chosen to bury. Nathaniel Graves was that kind of man. A billionaire, a visionary, a fool. He scoured the deepest trenches of the world, hunting for a city that had become nothing more than legend. And yet, he found it. The lost city, hidden beneath the waves, untouched for thousands of years. Towers of coral-covered stone, streets lined with statues, but one statue stood taller than the rest. That was the moment he realized this wasn't just a discovery. This was a warning. And some things are meant to stay buried. There it was, a kingdom swallowed by the sea, waiting for him. The city of Atlantis, not legend, not myth, but real. Carved in stone, draped in coral, frozen in time. But Atlantis was never meant to be found. Some doors are locked for a reason, some secrets meant to stay buried. And then he saw it, a monument to himself, a man lost to time, a man whose fate had been written long before he arrived. That was the moment he understood. This was no discovery. This was a trap. Orion Graves was just a boy when his father disappeared. The world called it a tragedy, a mystery, another billionaire lost to his own ambition. But for Orion, it wasn't a mystery at all. He had always known his father would leave. He just never thought he'd take the world with him. Nathaniel Graves chased ghosts. He drowned himself in legends while the world burned, and in his absence, everything crumbled. Orion was never meant to inherit the Graves legacy, but fate doesn't wait for permission. He swore he would never be like him, never chase fantasies, never waste his mind on impossible dreams. But now, standing at the edge of creation, he understood some cycles were never meant to be broken. The last thing his father ever gave him, a promise that he'd return, a promise broken. There are two kinds of men, those who chase the past and those who try to outrun it. Orion Graves was never meant to be his father's son, but legacy doesn't ask permission. It clings, it consumes. The world was unraveling. His father's absence had left a void too vast to fill. Empires crumbled, economies failed, and humanity waited for a leader that would never return. He had waited too long. If he couldn't bring his father back, then he would do the next best thing. Some sons bury their fathers, some sons build tombs, but Orion, he was about to build a kingdom. What does it feel like to leave everything behind? To fall, not just through space, but through time. 5000 BC, the dawn of civilization. No ruins, no lost city, no Atlantis. There was no way home, no way back, only forward, only the myth. If Atlantis was meant to be discovered, someone had to build it first. And so, a son became a father, not to flesh and blood, but to myth itself, to welcome the man who would come looking for them. Fathers build legacies, sons inherit burdens. But what happens when the legacy itself is a cage? When the burden isn't just to remember, but to ensure that the past repeats? He wasn't building a kingdom, he was building a prison. A man lost in his past. A son who gave him a future, and a city that will never let him leave. Nathaniel, no, this isn't possible. This can't be real. He stumbles into a vast chamber, torchlight flickering against the walls. His eyes widen. The inscriptions are everywhere, etched into the stone, covered in centuries of wear, but unmistakable. He brushes his fingers over the letters, his voice trembling. English. How is this in English? Nathaniel looks around, revealing the truth. The carvings are written in his son's hand. And then, like a whisper through time, a ghostly voice echoes through the chamber. The light flickers. Orion's projection flares to life. His figure, translucent, stands before Nathaniel, watching, waiting. Orion, you were never supposed to be lost, Father. Nathaniel's breath catches. His hands curl into fists. He shakes his head, stepping back, but the city does not let him go. The statues seem to loom closer. The walls press in. His own reflection stares back at him from the polished stone of his monument. Except it isn't his reflection at all. It's Orion's face, watching him, knowing him, sentencing him. Orion, I gave you a home. Nathaniel clutches his chest, his breath ragged. The camera tilts downward. At his feet, half buried in the damp earth, a rusted pocket watch lies motionless. His shaking hands reach for it. The initials NG to OG barely visible beneath layers of time and decay. A final beat of silence. Then, Orion, now you must stay. Nathaniel's scream shatters the silence, raw, helpless. The camera pulls back, revealing the city from above. A sprawling labyrinth of stone, of paradox, of choices that cannot be undone. High above, in the endless abyss of the ocean, a faint wormhole flickers in the sky. A door that once led home, now forever closed.
So there you have it. A billionaire so obsessed with the past, he became a prisoner of the future. And his son? Oh, he took daddy issues to a whole new level. I mean, imagine building a city just to say, stay put, old man. Talk about a long-term plan for revenge. But here's the kicker. It wasn't fate, it wasn't destiny. It was a pocket watch, a wormhole, and a whole lot of bad decisions wrapped in a paradox. And now, Nathaniel gets to admire his own statue for, eternity. Call it poetic justice with a side of irony. So, what's the moral of the story? Maybe it's this. Legacies aren't always gifts, and sometimes the greatest prisons are the ones we build ourselves. Or maybe it's just, don't go looking for Atlantis. Join the movement, share your story, help shape the future. And if you want more tales like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because legends aren't born, my friends. They're told.